Hello, everybody. This is Sasquatchers. I am Andrew, and I am still pretty sick, but we are here. John is here. We have a guest. It's going to be an interesting show. It's the type of show that I really like because we get to learn some things. And we're going to introduce him after the intro.
The truth is out there. Never stop looking. Never be sheep. Always disrupt. We are the ungovernable. We are the truth seekers. We are Sasquatchers.
All right. We are here tonight with Vin, and Vin comes from a really cool company, and I'm going to let him talk about it a little bit so that I don't butcher any of the facts and details. But we'll start with how are you doing tonight?
Doing great, guys. Thanks for having me on. Hello, everybody. Again, my name is Vin. I'm with the Paranormal Group, which is basically four different entities. We do have our investigation company, was our Arizona Paranormal Investigation and Research Society. We do have a small production company that we're doing documentaries that we're working on. We have a store, which is Ghost Hunters Outlet, which actually funds our fundraising company, which is Arizona Ghost Tours.
So there's a lot to unpack there. I think we're gonna have a really cool conversation. So I guess first I wanted to maybe uh, pick your brain about the equipment. John and I we're not investigators in the sense that we're not boots on the ground looking for ghosts just yet. That's part of the plan. We're gonna eventually get out there and start doing some stuff. But one of the things that has always drawn me to this, because I guess maybe my age, I grew up with the Ghost Hunters on sci-fi, and then all of the stuff that kind of came after that. And so um, I'm always curious about the equipment. I can remember being like 12, 13 years old and Googling this stuff, trying to get a handle on it because it's what I wanted to do when I got out of high school. And
Mhm.
that just never worked out, never followed through with it just yet. Life got in the way. But do you guys manufacture this stuff?
We do make some products that we're working on. Most of it is the resale items. We're distributors for DES Pro Measurement, spirit boxes, REM pods, millimeters, etc. Honestly, most of the equipment out there is great. Do you need to have it all? No, you really don't. Anything that you do buy that you do have in your kit, the only advice I would give anybody, even professional, I shouldn't say professional, but somebody that's been in it for a while, is to really understand what it's doing, why it's activating. There's so much false positive out there. I mean, you think about it, there's 3,300 satellites above us. There's 2 year olds with cell phones. There's taxis, police cruisers, fire department. There is Wi-Fi routers everywhere. So a lot of this interrupts equipment. So you have to understand what your equipment is doing and why. And I always have a saying that evidence needs to support evidence. If I'm getting a hit on a millimeter, great. If I get a spike on a REM pod, great. If we get something else going off, great. Some one of the team has some type of interaction. They feel something or they're sensing something, great. Individually, fine. But when you get a lot of those happening at once, it could bring you to a possible conclusion. You can't go into a location, and Jason Hawes from Ghost Hunter said this best. You can't go into a location expecting everything to be paranormal because everything that happens, you're going to assume it's paranormal. You really need to go in, dissect it, and ask your questions. Why is this happening? Try to find reasons. If you really can't find anything, most likely it's simply inconclusive. It's very rare that you're having an actual, real haunting, real paranormal situation. So you just have to keep that in mind. There's a lot of equipment that's out there, like the REM pod. It's the round device with the red top. It's got the four lights. It has adjustments and it has a silver antenna. Hey, sweetheart. Basically, that is an authentic REM pod. You see stuff out there for $39. It's basically a doorknob alarm. It's something that somebody came up with. It's a small little package. It's got a little hook on it. You hook it on your doorknob when you go to a hotel. It will pick up, but it's picking up your biometrics. It's not really designed to, not that we know what a spirit is, but it's not really designed. It's designed for us. So you got to watch what's out there. A lot of the stuff is misleading. K2s, $25, $35. Those are basically Chinese K2s. Do they work? Sure, they'll activate, but what are they activating from? What is actually causing it? So whatever you buy, just be cautious, and whatever it is, just learn about it. But the only thing, you want to be an investigator, you want to go out in the field and do things. Basically, you need yourself, you need common sense, and a good digital recorder. Everything else is suspect. So that's all you need. Back in the day, we used to carry bells, we used to carry powder, thread, compass, thermometer, a cassette recorder, which was the worst thing ever because the cassettes made so much noise themselves. And little did we know that
Yeah.
new tape every single time because you never actually get rid of everything. So as you're reviewing that and you catch something, it's probably something from 4 times ago when you used it. So those is what we had back in the day, and all fit in the gym bag. Now when we roll, we got road cases and road cases full of stuff. My wife is a sensitive, and she's like, "Why do you cart so much stuff?" Just in case I need something. You know, I left at home, or I need that specific item, or maybe one of them broke, and now I have a second one in a kit. But really, a good recorder, and you're good to go. That's pretty much it. Kind of crazy. I'm contradicting the fact that I have a store. I want you to buy everything. No, the only thing you really need if you're going to start out, or if you want to do this, is a good recorder and patience.
You had mentioned the REM pod and the K2, and just for for clarification for some of us that might not know exactly what those are you able to tell us a little more about them,
Sure.
essentially, like purpose, what they do?
Yeah. K2s, EM meters, basically what they do is they register EM fields. So certain ones will have a digital display. K2s, they have 5 lights. It goes up to 20 plus milligauss. First light is actually, it's kind of like the on light. If it goes up for 5 milligauss, 5 milligauss is a big jump. With a millimeter and some of the other ones, it's a digital meter. It's got a display. It's much more sensitive, and it'll show you increments by like a tenth of a hit. Will end up displaying that, where the K2 is just showing you five milligauss. Millimeters are also shielded, so you're able to really read small increments. We were doing an investigation, and we were trying to we utilize a millimeter instead of a K2 because K2s go off for so many reasons other than paranormal. But we had the millimeter sitting there, and we were asking, please make it rise. Go to 1 milligauss, go to 1.1 milligauss, go to 1.5 milligauss, go back down to 1. And we were actually getting the readings happening as we were asking. It was appearing on the meter. So you can see that much increments, where with the K2, unfortunately, you can only see the 5 lights. But it's a very affordable meter. K2s are on television, and almost everybody has them or uses them. We use them for background. When we go into a location, we will use that. We will check throughout the house. Like for instance, you're in one room, and you see you have a spike on your K2. What we'll try to do is see what's going on the wall on the opposite side. Sometimes you'll see a freezer there, and as the compressor kicks on, it spikes the meter. So we use those for our walkthroughs to get baselines and find out where there are possibly man-made reasons why these meters will go off during our investigation. So for us, that's where the K2 is very helpful. A REM pod, what that does is actually it creates a EM field around itself, that anything that comes into that field will disrupt that field, and they actually trigger lights in the audible tone. The more interference, the more lights will go off, and the higher the tone. So we use those for the same type of thing as communication. We use them in rooms like babysitters will we'll bring out 3 or 4 of them, put them in different rooms. So if we're in the living room doing a essay session or a recording, and something goes off in the second bedroom, we'll move into that room because that went off, and we'll continue here because it might be something going on. So you use them to kind of gauge where activity may be. So those are 2 of the more popular things. You'll see them on pretty much every TV show that's out there.
Okay, yeah. Now that you described them, I definitely recognize them. Actually, something that I saw, and it not quite paranormal recently, but I watched a documentary about this cult who believed that their cult leader would come back to life after their death. And so this person died an untimely death, and then they just kept the body, waiting for her to resurrect. And one of the things that they did to prove that they weren't insane was they had one of these meters, and they read themselves and all around the room, and it read 0, but then they would put it over next to the body, and it would flare up and shoot up. And so that was kind of their evidence that they
Love
tried
the
to
show.
uh,
Well, again, with anything, what documentary that you're looking at, anything you see on YouTube, so on and so forth. And I'm not saying that these people did it, but there are so many different ways to manipulate and or misread something. So who knows what was around? Were they doing Facebook Live with a phone? Did somebody get a text off camera? Was somebody using a walkie-talkie? There's other things, like for instance, a lot of production cameras, they're Wi-Fi. Most of the actors, the paranormal investigators you see on television, they have a wireless. That is all RF. That's what all these things are actually reading, is RF interference. So even though they're at different wavelengths, they still can interrupt with some of these meters, especially if the battery is a bit fatigued, where you might test it and it might be showing 9 volts, but when you actually are using it, it drops down and can cause the meter to fluctuate and have misreads, like a car battery in your car. When you bring it to a mechanic, you have battery issues, starting issues, they'll put it under a load test. It's not just, you have 12 volts, great, you got 12 volts. It's under a load where your cigarette lighter, your radio, your air conditioners, all using that electric, putting your battery under a load, that checks the stress. We don't have that type of stuff for 9 volt batteries, AA, AAA batteries. And I wish there was something out there to utilize that, or something. I'm sure there is, utilizing meters, etc. But something easy to do that, because even cameras, you'll see have somebody go, "Oh, I just put a fresh camera, a battery in that camera, and it died." It might have showed when you popped open that camera, you had 3 lines, but once you hit record and you put a load on that camera, all of a sudden your battery went down to nothing because it was actually fatigued to begin with. So that's where you have to take a look at what's going on in the environment. And unfortunately, you are the person kind of behind the camera as an audience. You only see what the camera can see. You don't see what's happening offset left or offset right. And unfortunately, there might be something that else that is going on. So it's difficult. I get stuff all the time. What do you think of this? And I'm like, I don't know. I wasn't there. I can't really, help you, or I can just say it's interesting. I can't say it's paranormal. We get a lot of videos, a lot of different recordings that people send. So again, it's difficult because you don't know what was going on in the surroundings.
I like that answer a lot. And when we have people on that are part of this area of expertise that you come from, I like to hear that, because so much of what happens on television is sensationalized.
It is,
And
but it has to be. And then,
right,
like you said, you started watching Ghost Hunters on Sci-Fi when it came out in 2004. What did they do back then? Mostly, they really were looking for reasons why stuff was going on. And my wife, she recorded. She goes, "Oh, the show's coming on Sci-Fi," and she told me about it. I'm like, "Okay, but watching." I watched it. I'm laughing. I'm like, "This is going to go off the air because it's basically paranormal investigating, which is very boring." 95% of the time you go out there, you don't really get anything, and everything that you may get could be suspect. Like glass, rain. When it's raining out, voices carry. So you can have somebody a block over talking to his buddy in his yard, and it's raining, And that voice will carry. All of a sudden, you're doing, EVP session, and you go review that, and oh my God, look, something said Fred. It might have been a block away that came through that ring, and it's hard. It really is difficult. So these guys, I think, because the show was so unique that it kind of grew. And then when everything else came out, all the other, everything that followed that, Paranormal Project, I think was one of them. Obviously, Ghost Adventures, that just blossomed the entire industry. If you look at most of the directories that are out there, when the team started, 2008, 2009, 2010, basically because of the television era. And unfortunately, a lot of people, the way they were trained is via TV. Where can you actually go and investigate? You just can't go out there and knock on somebody's house and go, "Hey, I'm a paranormal investigator. Come and see if you have any ghosts in your house." You have to be asked to come in and do an investigation, or you go to locations that offer events like we have, to be able to go and utilize that equipment or try to find something. But again, those are traps for a lot of people, because if you go to the Waverly Hills, it's haunted, right? Everybody says it's haunted. Every single listing, every show, it's been there, it's haunted. So much is going on. So you already have a preconceived idea that what you're going to catch or things that are going to happen are going to be paranormal. And it
It's
may
really
not actually be. So
it's
Yeah,
a
it's
really
fair.
solid point.
it's really difficult. You have to really, really stress yourself and try to find other reasons. And that's what Ghost Hunters was doing. And as you saw, over the years, it kind of changed a little bit because it needed to stay, up with the Joneses. We have to have more things going. Did you hear that? Did you see that? Did you feel that? Did you smell that? That's all things that you can't validate as a viewer. You just need to really take their word for it. Are they lying? I'm not saying they are, but we are taking their word that those things are happening. Now, the cameras, the audio is not picking up the sounds a lot of times that you hear. Okay, sometimes that does happen, but we put a lot of faith into what we're seeing, and investigators on investigations put a lot of faith in what their equipment is doing, is not really looking to see why it's doing it.
Well, we can't all fist fight demons like Zach Baggins, right? Like,
Well,
but so you brought up some good points, about like the having to promote certain things to become popular, like on these TV shows, and that to get those viewers. So let's say that we have like the top of the line equipment. Okay, we bought what we needed. We found a place that's supposed to be haunted. What are some of the pitfalls? Aside from the couple that you'd mentioned, that investigators might make.
well, two is write a blueprint, some type of floor plan, just on a napkin, whatever you got hanging around of your location. Know where the exits are. I have been on investigations where two of them where fires have started. So first off, you got to be safe. So you got to kind of do that type of stuff. Fire extinguisher, look for those type of things. When we do private investigations, we have an intake form that the client actually fills out. And a lot of those questions are kind of personal. What type of medications are you on? I said, I'm none. One of the first places we go is to the medicine cabinet. And we look and we see what may be in there. Because a lot of times people self-medicate, or they shouldn't medicate, or there's a two-handle of scotch on the counter and they're taking something else, and it could cause some of the issues that they may be having. So an investigator, you got to be safe. If you're doing any type of client investigating, you do have to understand what your situation may be. And you got to almost be a psychiatrist sometimes, because you're dealing with a lot of different persons, especially now. My God, it's like almost at a point where we try to do as much phone consultation as we can. We hardly roll. If there's a kid involved, we'll roll, but a lot of this is really doing, over the phone, back and forth, having them write journals, keeping track of things that are going on. If something happened at a certain time. When we do investigations, we look at like solar activity, if there's any solar storms, because that causes EM and other things to go off. seismic activity. There's a couple sites that you can go and you can view that. We did an investigation in a restaurant. One of their claims was that the glasses would fall off the shelves at night. So we set up a camera and we put vibration sensors on all the shelves and we let that run overnight. So we're reviewing that evidence and we're here, what the hell is that sound? Like every 15, 20 minutes. And after a while, every time that sound was, you saw, the lights light up from the vibration sensor. What the hell is that? So when we went back and we talked to the client, oh, that's our ice maker. So it turned out the ice maker is in the wall on the other side. The shelf that all the glasses on are actually fixed to the wall. The plumbing inside the wall that feeds the ice maker, every time it dropped ice, it would shake the wall would shake the shelf, the glasses would fall off. Somebody else would just say, yeah, that's it, there's ghosts, there's paranormal, we got demons that are not
Demons in the blood.
So, those are the types of things, that you have to do. But really, stay safe. Do not investigate on your own. If you want to do an isolation session, which we do have somebody within shouting reach that can get you. God forbid, I'm 65. Hey, I could have a heart attack. Nobody would know. I'm sitting in a room by myself, and they're all outside or whatever. You have to kind of take care of each other. So that's
Well, you would become the ghost then.
Yeah, I would become the ghost. And just to let you know, we all have words. If I was to pass, my word is, sorry. My word is barracuda. So if my guys are doing a session and they're trying to reach out to me and they hear the word barracuda, who would say barracuda? So
yeah,
it's pertinent. Sorry, Dre, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was going to say
I think we have the same idea. It's super pertinent because we live in the era where TikTok conspiracy and paranormal is very popular, where everybody that has a phone is going out and being a paranormal investigator. And as you mentioned, not to say that you're coming from it from a skeptical standpoint, maybe more like a common sense standpoint.
I do believe, but I'm skeptical of and suspect of evidence because you have to be.
That's kind of the best.
You mentioned phones, apps, and all that. Okay, when you're on Google or whatever search engine you're using and you're looking for a certain fishing rod or you're looking for a certain purse, now you go on some other site, all of a sudden the ads come up, the Google ads, and it's for your fishing rod or the purse that you're looking for. That's AI. That's what these apps have. They are AI built in there. So what are they going to do if you ask, are there any spirits here with us? We've asked, are there any rabbits here with us? And we got to answer yes. So, you got to use that with a grain of salt when you're using apps. They are for entertainment purpose, realistically. Not saying that they will not work in some situations, but most of the time it's listening to you. And we did contact a few of the developers and we asked, why do we have to have the actual microphone of our phone on? And they said, in case you want to record the session. I'm like, well, I have a digital recorder and I have a camera. I don't need my phone to record it. Well, if you want to do Facebook Live, I don't do Facebook Live. So they couldn't give me an answer other than you should have it on because of those reasons. When you shut the mic off on your phone, nothing happens. So it's kind of interesting.
I've always been suspicious of apps and kind of the broader technology stuff that's come with it.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up.
The magnetometers which are in your phone, they will sense EM fields. So some of the stuff kind of works to an extent. I mean, if you're first starting out, Jesus, don't spend your money in this field. Because we get a lot of people that buy stuff, especially this past 2 months, is stuff was flying, out of here because everybody was buying for their nephew who wants to be a ghost hunter, and they bought a meter or a kit, a little, has the case and the meter and the spirit box and a laser and blah blah blah, and then 6 months later the kid's bored with it because he caught no ghost, and then you see it up on eBay. So this is a very expensive field to get into. So anybody starting out, be sensible. Pick up a decent recorder. If that's all you're going to buy, that'll great. Your phones work just as well for that type of stuff. But once you're really serious, or you get with a good group of people, which is another very difficult thing to do, because you got to get rid of the people that are the ghost hunters versus the paranormal investigators. If that's what you're looking to do, is go and help people, you don't want the ghost hunter who all they want to do is have their equipment go off because they think it's something going on. So it's difficult to get a team. That's the other thing that you have to do, is get together with a good group of people that will have your back, get to know them, get to know what they sound like. Don't whisper on investigations, because it doesn't sound like my voice. It could be something else. So you got to be very, very careful with that. So get to know your team, get to know your equipment, and just be safe. That's it.
Yeah, it's even something you touched on just recently, like with being safe, is knowing your team, the paranormal investigator, ghost hunter, but also doing your due diligence.
Mm-hmm.
Not like you said, not everything's a haunting. It might be, the ice machine. It could be leaky faucet. It could be whatever.
Right.
Like, do your research. Spend time doing that research. Just don't go
Yeah.
and be,
Well,
here, I have the ghost, guys. Ghost
Yeah,
selfie.
yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with people doing that and having themselves and having fun. Like these Geico people that come out, that group that comes out and does that. They have fun. You know what I mean? They're more goofing on each other. It's a fun time for them. I'm not saying not be like that, but again, there's paranormal investigators and there's ghost hunters. I'll give you a perfect example, and we'll talk about apps. We were called by a woman. This was last year, probably August or so, in that time frame. And her husband swears that he's possessed, that there's demons, and they're not sleeping together at that point. So we interviewed her. She filled out the intake form. We called. We were doing a chat, and in the conversation, I found out that there was another team that was there that investigated, and that's who gave him the idea that he's possessed and that there's a demon. And when I asked her why did they do that, and she said they were using their phone, and they asked what is here, and it said, "I'm a demon." Now that couple is completely split. So this team went in there ghost hunting, and they actually caused a rip in his family that may not get fixed. So we talked to him. We didn't investigate. We just went there, talked to both of them, and we suggested a counselor to really sit down and kind of discuss this. And we explained demons they're out there, but it's so infrequent. I mean, I've been doing this for 35 years, and yeah, negative energy and different type of things. Oh my God, yes, but an actual demon, maybe, and we're still maybe a couple times. So again, you got to really be careful. Go ghost hunt. Go to a location like the Waverly, or pay $50 to go on an event with the public, and have fun and do that. But if you're going to do private investigations for people, please be careful, because you can cause more damage than good. That's it.
that's a type of reverence for the field that you don't see a lot. And again, I'll say that I appreciate that. I like hearing that your reasons for being there are very specific to the investigation and figuring out what's going on and being helpful. And unfortunately, every time we talk to somebody with this kind of experience, I mean, the ones that we've spoken to at least kind of have similar stories about uh, seeing people affected negatively, not by an entity, but the way somebody investigated the entity. And that's an unfortunate side effect, I think, from all of the TV sensationalism
Yeah, a lot
that
of
we
those
have.
investigations are damaging just in themselves.
There's an actual new psychiatric term that's out there. I can't remember exactly what it is, but basically it's the influence of TV and other people around you. If you say, I think there is, something here, then all of a sudden, oh yeah, I can feel it too. You'll see stuff like that, but it's how these things play out. Again, our intake forms, we'll get something like, yeah, a situation just like, Ghost Adventures episode 12. It's like, they're referencing a television show. Okay. You're trying to let me understand that, but that's a trigger right there that you're watching TV. So you already have a certain belief. And like I said, when you go to a location, you can't go with the idea that everything you catch is going to be paranormal. Unfortunately, these people in these homes, everything that's going on that is happening, they're saying it's because it's paranormal.
Mhm.
So
It's
that's
almost like
where it gets very, very difficult, to deal with people. It's tough. We rolled into location. We are down in Goodyear. God, when I first came out here, it was 2008, maybe 2012, 2013. We rolled up to the client's house, and there's like 8 people out front. I'm like, what the hell's going on? And I went and I introduced myself, and the client came up. I'm like, who are all these people? Do they live here? Oh no, they wanted to come and ghost hunt. So we said, sorry, we're going home. This isn't why you called us here. We're not here to entertain you in your home. So, it gets a little bit different. But our fundraisers, AZ Ghost Tours, that's one of the reasons why we run them. We give people opportunities and places to come and do this in an environment that we are in, that we understand, that we've been before, that we've investigated, that they now have that opportunity to go and do that. Right now, we're running 9 locations, and we got 3 more coming up. So hopefully 12 to 15 by the end of this year. And this gives people opportunities to go and do stuff. And a lot of people are like, well, I did the Heal the Jail up in Globe. Well, I've been up there since 2011. I was up there maybe 2, 3 times a year. Now I'm up there 3, 4 times a month, to the point where I have a rapport in this place. I would walk in there and say, hey, it's Vinny, I'm here. And I would hear boom, like something slamming, not a cell door, but something like a fist slamming to the side of the cell, and get that echoey, metally boom. That was my greet. So more you go to some place and they trust you, and you have the like paranormal etiquette, things are going to happen for you if there is something there, a lot more than, oh, I did that, check, I do Waverly Hills, check, I did Elizabeth Gordon's house, check, I did The Conjuring. That's not what I want to do. I don't want to honestly go to any of those locations. If I was asked to come in, like we were asked by in New Mexico, the Dona Ana prison and courthouse, we were asked to come out there and investigate, and they were doing a Paracon, and they wanted us to work the Paracon with them to run the guests. So yes, we'll go out, and anybody who asks us to do something, we'll go out, collaborating with other teams. Nevada State Prison. We're going to be going up there this summer. They've investigated. There's a team, like a house team, kind of like how we are in our locations, and they want us to come up and see what we get and validate and compare our evidence. And that's something that I enjoy doing with a lot of teams. And originally, when I came out here in 2008, it was very kind of standoffish. Back east, there weren't really teams when I was doing this. You talk to somebody, like I work for the post office, it's a very boring job. You're sitting there throwing mail, and you start talking to the guy next to you. And after 3 or 4 months sitting next to the same guy, you're like, hey, do you believe in ghosts? Oh, yeah, I had that. Well, me too. And all of a sudden, you found somebody that had an interest or an experience that you had. So speaking of the post office, when I was first started, I was working at nights, and this guy Earl and we started talking, and there was an old story of a postal worker that was killed during a robbery. They used to bring the mail to the train, which was a trestle right next door, and he was killed in like the 30s, 40s, whatever it was. And supposedly he haunts the basement. So here, me and Earl, 3 o'clock in the morning during our lunch hour, we're running around in the basement, and everybody else is out eating and getting coffee. So we were known as the Ghost Guys. And that's really how my first case came about. One of the women that work with us, a lot of single moms, they're divorced and they work at night, and their mother stays with the kid. But she's like, hey, my son's having issues. He sees stuff, and I don't want to like just write the kid off. That's what happened to me when I was 6. So that was my first time. Did I go there with equipment and stuff? No, I was more there to kind of sit with this child and talk to him and let him know that I believe you. You're not crazy, and discuss what he's seeing and see how that related to what I saw, what Earl saw. I forgot the other guy. I think it was Tommy that was with us. So that's how it all started. And it was about helping people with our situations. And you didn't broadcast this. We didn't put ads out anywhere. You didn't do that back then. It wasn't like something that you were proud of. Like now, I know people that I wish I was possessed. I'm like, you know, But people, they
Terrible
want,
thing to wish.
yeah, they want a lot of weird things to happen. So it's changed, drastically over the years. And when I came out here again, I reached out to teams. At that point, I had like 30 years experience, and a lot of people didn't even get back to me. Some people that did, they were not kind enough to say, we're not looking for anybody, at this point. So I was talking to a worker at my new location here in Scottsdale, post office, and he said, "Oh, check this thing called Meetup." And I never heard of Meetup. So I went on that, and sure enough, there were like 3 or 4 different paranormal event group things out there. So I joined all of those, and it was $100 to do this, $50 to do that, and I started meeting people, but they were all ghost hunters. Finally, now I think the last 3 years, other than my wife, we really have a solid group of people that are concerned when we go into a client's location. That's spam. When we go into a client's location,
Call from
they
the
are
Joseph
going to
likes.
they're going to act properly.
Call from
All right.
So good.
They're going to act properly, and I don't have to worry about them telling the owner that there's a demon under their bed, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like I said, it takes a while to get people together.
So one question that I have based off of the things that you have mentioned is, um, how do you uh, how do you present the areas that you have that tour uh, as
Sorry, guys, I thought this was off. Let me just shut it.
It's paranormal.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's
all right.
that's all of our ghost friends.
The hook
So
should be okay.
how do you all good, all good. So how do you prevent interference in investigations at your locations that you bring people in to? I know you had said, when you're on a location, you look for all of these things where that maybe on the other side of the wall there's something that's causing an increase of the magnetic field or whatever. So what are some of the things that you do procedurally to prevent that from interfering in a case on your location?
Now, when you say my locations, the ones that we do fundraisers at, or if
Yeah.
fundraisers, basically we've investigated these places numerous times. So we've gone through the walkthroughs. We did the EM sweeps. We go outside. We drive around. We look at what's going on, microwave towers, etc. A hospital that may be close, a police station, where these things all are producing Wi-Fi and or RF because they're transmitting constantly. So those are the type of things we look for. For instance, we'll take the Gila Jail up in Globe. Anytime I see a new video, on YouTube or something, I'll watch it. And there's an area on the upstairs. It's called Kingsley Old Cell. Basically, it's an infamous inmate that was accused of killing his employer's 2 little girls in 1911. While waiting for a judge to come in and trial, they kept him in a jail to keep him safe. Somebody shot from the neighboring courthouse, killed him in the wee hours of the morning. So that is a big, that area in that jail is very active, and a lot of people go there. Hence, K2s will light up like a Christmas tree there. If you look outside the window, there's a power line about fat that runs along the perimeter there, which causes a lot of those meters to go off. And if you look at like a K2, the way it's going off, it's not fluctuating. It's solid, like 3 lights. That's showing me that there's electrical current. There's some type of electric there. It's nothing paranormal. It's not RF. It's the EM field that's produced from that wire, and it's perpendicular. So it comes this way. So it reaches into the cell areas. That's what people pick up. And I watch all these videos and they're like, oh my God, look, my meter is going off like crazy. That's because of the wires outside. So that's one of the things that you have to do is go look around. Are there trees touching the building where if it's breezy out, maybe it's going to be a knocking? Back east, a lot of our electrical was above ground. Here in Arizona, everything pretty much is buried. but we used to have the telephone poles or electrical poles, and we would have to run into the house, and it would attach to these two connections up on top of the house and then go down to the actual meter. Well, those two, one is positive, one is negative. The negative is the neutral. If you had a loose neutral on your house and it would be windy, your lights would flicker. So these are all the things that we would end up looking at. And again, coming to these locations time and time and time again, we know all the pitfalls, and or we learn about the new ones, or something new presented itself. Like one location that we went to, they just put it in one of the areas in the building that they don't use for anything to public with storage. They decided to put an office in there, which we didn't know about. So all of a sudden we're in this one area and meters are going crazy. Like this never happened before. So we're trying to figure out exactly, didn't I just shut you off? Figure out what the heck that is. And we couldn't figure out anything. It's like, it doesn't seem to be paranormal. There's something going on here. So when we ended up checking with the Historical Society, he said, oh, yeah, we just placed our office in there. I'm like, is there a router in that room? And they were like, yeah, there's a router there. That's what was going on. That's what we were picking up. So even though we've been someplace and something new is going on where it never did before, we're going to question it immediately. And again, investigating what it may be, asking the questions, we found out that there was a man-made reason why that was happening, and it wasn't Casper, causing the meter to go off. So even though you got to continually to be suspect of that evidence, be suspect of what's going on, and try to still, again, even though you've been there, find the reason why. And we lost Drew there, I think. Here you
Oh
are.
no, Drew.
Yeah, no, I'm here. I heard. I had a coughing fit, so I muted myself from the conversation there for a second, so I didn't interfere with anything. No, that's real solid investigating, and again, I think it's really really cool that you go in depth with that, and that's the goal, and it should be the goal. So I'm curious about a couple of other things. As a paranormal investigator who has, I think you said 40 years experience, where do you stand on some of the more sensational things that happened before TV? With the Warrens, I found I was actually a bit caught off guard to find that there are so many Warren debunkers, because again, I grew up with Art Bell, and Art had not Elizabeth Warren, Elaine Warren. I can't remember her name now.
It's Elizabeth Warren, Democrat senator from Massachusetts.
Lorraine. Yeah, I don't. I have no idea why Elizabeth Warren of all people came into my head. Not even.
She's 0.0125% native.
Well, most of these older investigators, Holzer, Warrens, a lot of that was utilizing mediums. And also, again, look at what they were using, real recorders. Were they changing out the tape every single time? The things that we've learned over the years. But, they were doing what they had, and they had a medium. And with mediums, a lot of teams don't like them. I utilize, my wife is a medium. If she tells me something's going on, I believe her. Is that 100% correct that it is actually happening? No, but I trust her. I know she's not just saying something to say something to be the center of attention, because she is a woman that does not like attention at all. But, these are mediums, and there was really no way to validate what they were saying, when they were making connections, especially, the 20s, even the 1800s, mid 1800s, seances and all that. Mary Lincoln, Abe's wife, she was actually institutionalized because, she was doing seances and all this stuff. Everybody was taking advantage of that, the power tricks with the table rising and the voices, which was somebody, hiding behind a curtain or whatever. All this was going on. So a lot of people throughout the years, they were kind of, all that's bullcrap. So for these types of people, they were constantly ridiculed and this is all fake and this is all bull crap and anything they say can't be true. They documented some interesting stuff, but again, majority of what they had was basically through a medium. That's what was going on. There were things that moved, there were sounds, smells, different things that did happen there. They didn't do much to find another cause. They just accepted it because the medium was saying there's something going on here, and that smell was due to a paranormal issue. They didn't go to find out why these things were going on. They just accepted it. That's part of their problems for back then.
Have you ever had an entity attached to you and bring it home?
No, I'm pretty much shut down. My wife, completely different story. She Now, let's talk about mediums and scratches. A lot of people say, "Oh, I got 3 scratches, whatever." We were actually at YMCA up in Miami. First time we were in there, we were walking through. Now, Pam is a medium. She's in a specific wavelength. Because she's a medium, that doesn't mean every single spirit that may be there is going to be able to communicate to her or be able to reach her, or whatever the case may be. If she could, she would hear voices constantly. She would be insane. And there are some people that are like that, which is what happened. They were actually, it became insane because of this ability that they had. But here, something was going on where something realized that she had an ability and was trying to communicate, and she just couldn't pick up on it. So she got scratched. Wasn't malevolent. It wasn't anything that was trying to attack her. It wasn't anything that attached to her. And some attachments are because that's how they're trying to get in to communicate. They may have a story they need to tell. They were wronged in life. They were murdered, and they want the truth to come out, or clear their name. All these different reasons why they may be here. And a medium is something that is attracted to them. It's like, let's say you go to China. You're trying to find something, you're talking to somebody, you don't speak the language. All of a sudden, you hear somebody behind you speaking English. What are you going to do? Oh my God, somebody that will understand me. And you gravitate to that person for help. Same thing with a spirit. So they'll pick up on a medium and they'll do whatever they can to try to open up a line of communication. That's where some people will end up getting an attachment because this medium speaks their languages on their wavelength, and they need to communicate because that's maybe why they're here. So that's one of the things that end up going on in that respect. So me personally, no attachments, but mediums tend to get these attachments because of the communication value that they offer.
What do you think is the best way to combat that for them?
Basically, be strong and be forceful to have it leave. You can't be negative. You still have to have like integrity and etiquette in dealing with it. As far as clearing and things like that, I'll probably get a lot of slack from it, but a lot of times most of this stuff doesn't work. If there's something that is around, it's there for a reason. Okay. And you can sage, you can salt, you can do whatever you want to do. But if it doesn't want to leave, there's a reason why. The thing is, you have to come up and find that reason. And that's the thing with attachments. If there's an attachment, there's got to be a reason why. So you have to kind of work on that to dissipate that. And a lot of times, just like other things in life, they may tend to get bored or feel that after all that, you're not going to be able to help me or answer my questions or get the answers that I need, and they leave on their own. So, that's something that, tends to happen. Just it phases itself out. It gets bored. There are tricksters. We do have one location. We have a mimicker, and it'll mimic my voice where I'm in a completely different area. Went to get batteries or whatever, and one of the team hears me talking to them from the back of the room or from a hallway, and they'll go look, and I'm not there. Then all of a sudden, I come rolling in from a different way, and they're like, "Weren't you just here?" I'm like, "No, I wasn't here." Those are mimickers. A lot of times we deal with that type of things, and they're there just simply to raise hell. Are they demons? Are they sub-demon? No, it's just the type of entity, the type of person that they were in life, that they are. They're pranksters. They like to practical jokes. So that's some of the things that we come up that way. But you really can't get rid of something unless it wants to go, or you make it understand it should leave. So that's where you see, the Exorcist and all that, and the holy water, and they do that. There's an actual exorcist here who I met. The church, the Catholic Church, does have them. I think there's one or two in every state in different locations, and with the prosperity of television, she says it's unbelievable how much the diocese gets as far as the request for exorcisms. It's amazing. And they don't do that many. They go through they're worse than paranormal investigators. They go through so much. It's a rarity that they'll actually roll and do an exorcism, because there really isn't anything there, and it could be self-induced. So
Yeah,
we
we talked to one of the more public Roman Catholic exorcists back in October, Father Lampert, and he said that it's very strict.
No, yeah.
Questions, answers, and if you don't add up to these things, then
you ain't getting it. Yeah,
they're not coming. And he was, I think there are 25 exorcists in the United States, and only 2 of them are public.
Well, this was a younger. It was a woman.
She wouldn't have been Roman Catholic then. There's only male.
Maybe in her 30s, and she was definitely sincere, and again, I understand because of the advent of television, it caught on. And unfortunately, like I said, our intake form, was just like, episode 16 on Ghost Adventures, that people will relate to something that may be happening to them, or that they festered themselves to thinking that it's, paranormal, or it's a demon and need an exorcist. We do have a lot of times, a situation where this might be something we're going to have to do. We'll sage, we'll have a priest come in and bless the house. But what is that doing? It's appeasing the mind of that person. Oh, you blessed our house and everything calmed down, or you saged and everything's gone now. Might not have been anything there in the first. It's kind of like a placebo. So, a lot of times you just go through the motions, and that tends to help people get past their paranormal activity.
Yeah, I didn't think of the placebo there. That's also a good technique. I've learned a lot tonight.
Positive, right?
Yeah. So you had mentioned you got into the mediums and talked about how they're controversial. What are the other controversial things that I always like to ask about when we have someone with your knowledge is the spirit box. It's to my understanding, it was invented to communicate with aliens, actually, and it eventually was repurposed for communicating with spirits. Where do you stand on them?
Spirit box, again, with everything else, you have to use it with a grain of salt. When we run the newer spirit boxes that are out, the new revision 6, you can actually get down to 100 milliseconds. 250 milliseconds is basically 4 increments a second. So you figure if you're doing a spirit box session and you get I see you, you know how many increments that went through to get that same voice carry over. It's not the radio. We were doing sessions with other investigators, and they're like, there's no radio coming through. I'm like, great. That's what you want. It's the white noise that they're using. We've almost kind of gone, we use spirit boxes still. We use them on our events because that's what people expect. But there's a team here in Arizona. There are also 3 locations, New York, I think North or South, North Carolina, and here in Arizona, Entity Voices Paranormal Investigators. They came up with an idea called Staticom, and this is a offshoot of Marcel Bocci in the 70s. He used a tube radio, set it between 7 and 9 hertz, and basically it was just static, and he was getting intelligent communication coming through the static, which is what the spirit box is supposed to utilize, the static. They're using that white noise in between the stations to verbally actuate. This process called Staticom completely doesn't even use any type of radio. It uses a white noise generator, not recorded loop, something that generates white noise, and it goes through a computer, goes through different filters, and it's incredible the intelligent stuff we get out there. I'll send you a link to a video that we did. We're up in Clifton, Arizona. And again, my name is Vinny, and I use a lot of old school stuff like bells. So I pulled out bells out of my kit, and Staticom says it's bells. And I'm walking by, I'm like, you know what this is? Just like, Christmas. And it's like, yeah, it's bells. Now,
Yeah.
there's radio, there's no spirit box, there's no phone apps, just shh, and it's telling me. Then when I come back, it says my name. Pretty crazy stuff. So it's taking spirit boxes and all to the next level. But again, other investigators, they set it up at like 400 milliseconds. So it's like, and you're in a popular area like here in Phoenix. I don't think you can find a vacant radio station. And you're going to get radio snippets that are going to come through, and people, they might get a word because it's going so slow, and maybe it might be something relevant to the location. Maybe you were investigating, and there was a supposedly spirit called John there, and all of a sudden there's some show, and they're interviewing John, and it's like, John, oh my God, it said, John. No, it was a radio station that did that. So, like everything else, as I mentioned before, understand what your equipment's doing, understand how it works, and make sure that you just don't go in with the perception that what you're hearing is actually paranormal. But spirit boxes, they are a tool that could be used. Evidence supports evidence. You got something over a spirit box, great. Other things are going on. Okay, so now we might have the possibility of something going on here, something intelligent. So, yeah, spirit boxes. There's a lot of them out there. A lot of these people make stuff with it's a radio kit, and they use reverb. Like the first Portal that came out, actually here in Arizona, Steve Huff. That was the mini guitar amp, and he had the foot pedals. One was a noise canceller, and the other one was a reverb. So it would cancel the part, because after 20 minutes, that can give you a headache listening to that. But it kind of gets rid of those high peaks, and then the reverb elongates the words. So you hear "ho," and a lot of stuff you'll see on TV, people using some of that stuff. That's what it actually is doing. It's taking radio, and it's just changing the actual texting of it, elongating with the reverb, so it sounds kind of spooky. We don't get, again, these like a Wonder Box or whatever they use out there. We don't know what it's plugged into. We don't know what it's is it using the radio. They do have a port on it where you can put an MP3 player, recorder, whatever you want on it. We don't know what they're actually using. That could be pre-recorded words, and it's just saying things that are kind of relevant. So again, anytime you're doing something, I'm not there. I can't say it's paranormal. I can't say it's not paranormal. I can't say you're fudging it. I can't say you are fudging it. It's just I don't know, because I don't know what the circumstances and the environment and things that are going on around it. So spirit boxes, again, grain of salt.
Yeah, my take on it is that the scientific method is about repetition and trial and error. So, I guess that kind of falls into that evidence support evidence mentality that you have. So, the one person being nefarious with it versus the next person who uses it, has all of the best intentions and produces something. I think every case should be looked at individually, so to speak.
Yeah.
But before we let you go, John, do you have any other questions?
I do. So it's not really necessarily related to what we've been talking about. I'm wondering what is behind you, because it looks like you're rolling Nephilim-sized cigarettes back there.
That is a quilt arm.
Okay.
Long arm quilt machine. Thank you, my wife in the background. She's a quilter, and this item, a lot, if you ever took it like the back of a quilt, all that intricate stuff that's back there.
Okay.
This thing, she's able to move up and down the thing, so it's a lot easier than sitting there on a sewing machine farting around with it. So it's 8 foot long by almost 4 feet. We had no place to put it, so it's in our front room, This is our office area anyhow, so we don't use it for anything but kind of work related. So that's what that is behind me.
Interesting.
Cool.
That's cool.
That's
Yeah.
it. That was my question.
Well, one thing that we always like to do is offer up, the last couple, last minute or so of this show to our guests to, get your links out, promote anything. I will include them in the description. As you can see, we have them on the video there, but I think you have even more than what I have in our banner there. So, floor is yours to go ahead and promote.
All right. One thing, anybody that's out there and you plan to come to the Arizona area, please look us up. We do private investigations. We just had a team, Dr. Ghost Hunters from Utah, people all over the place, LA, Wisconsin. We had one guy from across the pond in London. A lot of people come here, off season or to, kind of visit relatives, and they want to investigate some of these locations, but they don't want to do a public event. So we have that type of capabilities available for people as well. I have one guy up in Chicago. When he comes here, he leaves all of his gear home. We provide all the gear, and he brings his cards, and he uses my cameras. He puts his cards in my cameras. He videotapes all night. Then he takes his cards out and he goes home, and that's how he reviews his evidence. So you don't even have to bring stuff, cameras or anything with you. And that's one of the things that we also offer people. These are all at the locations that we do our fundraisers, and those monies are also donated to the locations that we help. Again, if you want to support history and these locations through us, best thing to do is, visit our store, Ghost Hunters Outlet. If you want to get 10% off, you can sign up for the newsletter, or if you'd rather not do that, there is a discount code I'll give you, which is SPIRIT, SPIRIT, all caps. You can use that when you check out and you get 10% off. The funds from that store actually provide all the funding for us to do all of our fundraisers. April 12th and 13th, if everything goes well, it's still on the fence, but we should be doing our third PowerCon up in Globe, Arizona, called Ghost of Globe PowerCon. And that one we're trying to expand this year to 2 nights and also bring in talent from television, because that's what people tend to want. My problem is, and I don't blame these people at all, but some people, obviously want their expenses covered, which is understandable, but $2,000 a day is a little rich, And the thing is, the people that come to these events that want to do these, VIP ghost hunts, those are the ones who are going to be footing the bill. So, we're trying to make it realistic for them, but also bring in funds. So I don't know which way we're going to go. If anything, it's going to be a one-day event, which will be April 13th up in Globe, Arizona. Globe is a hotspot. It's a mining town. The entire area, it's called the Copper Corridor. Miami, Globe, Apache Junction, Morenci, Superior, all mining towns. And these places, they have kept their history alive. The Hilla Jail that we do is built in 1910. Next door is a 1906 courthouse. We do a 1908 brothel, 1917 YMCA. So these are all 100-plus-year-old locations that we're working with, and those monies that we provide through our events go a long way, because this pays for the electric, it pays for all the things, the necessities, the upkeep that now the cities and the states, the funding is dwindling more and more each year. So this money does help. And we give people an opportunity to invest in these locations with us on site, whether it's public or private. And we gauge it based on the people that come. If you're doing a private event with us, we have a lot of people that have experience ghost hunting, etc. We'll be a little more hands off. If you're a newbie and you have no idea, you're holding a K2 down by your ankles, we're going to do more with you. We're going to engage more with you. We run paranormal events. We do the experiments. We do an ESSA session, a group ESSA session. So it's a lot of fun. Our groups are not big. You go to some of these things and they got 30 people. Some of the locations we only allow 6 people because we want to keep it as realistic as possible. So if you're ever coming out this way, please look us up. Our links are right there. For any teams that are in the United States, any podcasts, any tour companies, on the paranormalgroup.org. We are putting together a directory for you guys. When you join a paranormal group, it's free. There's no fees, no cost. We're just trying to make a location that people need help, or they want to find, they're coming to Arizona and they want to find a tour group, or they're going to Ohio and they want to find a tour group out there, or they're interested in checking out podcasts that they might not have heard. You can go on to our directories. We just started this thing like a month ago, and with the holidays, we kind of stepped off a little bit, but we're going to be pushing this a lot for this year. And it's going to be a directory that is going to be maintained. You're not going to go on there and you're going to find something that, they disbanded 3 years ago, the team that you're trying to find. These are going to be people that are actively doing investigating or in the paranormal field. So hopefully that'll be a success. And as our thanks for any groups, teams, tour companies, etc., that do join, there's a special link to a huge 15 to 25% off equipment from the Ghost Hunters outlet. It's specific equipment. It's not the entire store. It's things that we're able to discount that heavily. But it's our way of thanking you to be there, that when the public needs somebody in your neck of the woods, you're going to be there to help them. So again, for anybody that joins, say it right now, thank you very much. Anybody that comes out and joins our events or comes to our Paracon, it's very appreciated. This money goes a long way. So
Absolutely.
and thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a good experience. I like talking to you. I like learning. You even mentioned something that I never even would have considered, and that's having a fire exit plan. So lots of knowledge. I want everybody listening to check these links out and support these guys, because I think what they're doing is awesome. And
just be safe, guys. Be safe.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, as always, we're gonna hit the outro button, and I can't believe that I called Lorraine Warren freaking Elizabeth Warren. You could tell that I'm fevered right now, everyone. I am ill.
Thanks for squatching.